So thanks for coming out, man.
Thanks for having me.
I
You guys,
appreciate it.
room full of fired up people.
Totally. You've been watching on the live stream.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I couldn't wait to get in and be a part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And are you shooting right now? Are you?
Yes,
You're
yes.
shooting.
That's why it was a blessing that it worked out that I was able to come because, believe it or not, so I don't know if you guys have read, but we shot the first 2 seasons of the show in Miami. Everywhere you saw in the show was the actual place. We didn't even have a stage.
Okay.
So if you saw us at Prime 112, we were actually at Prime 112. We shut it down and we shot there. Mm-hmm. Well, due to some tax incentive stuff, a little bit of the Zika scare, they're moving the show to Los Angeles and several other places. The show is just getting bigger. We're kind of all over the place, including Las Vegas, you'll see. Cool. But we've had more rain delays in a month of shooting in Los Angeles than 2 years shooting in Florida, believe it or not.
Wow. Wow.
We busted a drought in California the past 5-6 weeks.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, for real. We really need it because I was tired of people rushing me out of the shower.
So you've been kind of you're in shooting mode, but you've been taking a little time off because of the rain.
Yeah, because of the rain. They consolidated some of the stuff that I was supposed to be doing, which left me with a little bit of time.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So it worked out.
Yeah, it always does when you keep that positive attitude.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So I'll tell you how Omar and I met. We met probably last year. I started flying private, and it's freaking awesome, right? It's the only way to go.
Humble brag, but it's pretty cool.
It's real cool. It's real cool.
It's really convenient.
Super convenient. I mean, you can literally, you could decide you're going to go somewhere within 30 minutes. You can be booked and on your way there, and you don't have to go through security. And it's
which to me is, I mean, it would be nice if they would buy me dinner because it's a full molestation that takes place at TSA. It's a real. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not big on getting touched by strangers like that.
Right. No, it's awesome. Matter of fact, I'll tell you guys a little private story. So one time, I took Liz on the private jet to Vegas because we weren't living in Vegas. And we went to Wet Republic, had a great time, partied down, and then we got back to the hangar, and Liz was like, oh my gosh, I left my ID at Wet Republic. And so they hold up the sign and said, we can't let you on the plane, $10,000 fine, no ID, And then after a little while, they just go, she just jumped on the plane. So it's really cool. But the coolest thing about it, I mean, it costs quite a bit of money. You know, at a certain point, it makes sense. But I don't always rent the whole plane. So sometimes we go fractional. We get to, like, meet people. And, dude, I have met the most amazing people, as have you,
Vice versa. It's a great opportunity. One of the things that I found, and I've noticed it seems to be a running theme in the conference, is putting yourself in a position to succeed oftentimes really precludes your success.
Yeah.
So, you know what? You may spend some more money, and I'm not advocating anybody to spend out of their price range, but you may spend some more money in certain scenarios, but oftentimes that comes around.
Absolutely.
And you end up meeting other people. We ended up meeting each other. We can collaborate on things, and it's pretty interesting.
It is very cool. You know, one of the great things I think about you is that, I mean, you have this tremendous spirit.
Thank you, man.
But yeah, absolutely. But you, it really seems to me like you are very open to opportunity, to connecting. I mean, you are just all about it.
You know what? To me, I grew up in a giant household full of people. So there was 7 kids and our parents. Wow. So there's 9 people minimum all the time. And when you add everybody's friends, it's just a madhouse. It's a full zoo all the time. So to me, when I'm not, hesitant to talk or interact with people, and you know what, I'll tell you something else. I've been blessed so that the roles that I've played make people approach me with love. Yeah. People approach me with love and respect, and I seem to have cultivated like an everyman, everyday kind of quality in the work, you know, and that makes people say, hey, you know what, hey, man, how you doing? Yeah. You remind me of my cousin, man. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people come up to me and ask me if I went to school with them. Right. You know, hey, man, did you go to Lincoln? Yeah. Where did you were we at Stanford together? Like, no, actually, I was on CSI last night.
That's cool.
I was a state school student, not a private university student.
There you go. That's so cool. So let's talk about fame for a second. Yeah. Because, being famous is cool, right? I mean, it's...
You know what? There's pros and there's cons.
That's okay, and that's what I was going to talk. Let's talk about the cool part for a minute. Like, what's awesome about it? Like,
access.
Everything. Yeah, right. You can anything you need.
Access it. For example, so Daven and I went to a fight that was here
Yeah.
a couple months ago.
Ringside.
Yeah. At it was a fight over at the T-Mobile Center.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I didn't know until I got another for a lot of people who don't know, another word for being famous is being on. So before I got on, I didn't understand on how connected other people who were on are.
Yeah.
And so, for example, like before the fight, they hustle you to an area where there's a bunch of other people that you recognize.
You're backstage.
Yeah, with the fighters.
And like every freaking celebrity on the planet.
I mean, all the professional athletes, the actors, the writers, and it extends beyond just the people that you see on television or whatnot.
Yeah, right.
There's people like yourself. There's people who are actually making a difference in people's lives who somehow or another have connected and have that access to be in this special area, if you will. And that's really cool because, like, for me, what it's done and that enhances my work is it gives me access to any walk of life. So for me, the fact that people recognize me, and unfortunately, we still live in the real world, and if it wasn't for people seeing me on TV, a lot of people would clutch their purse when they saw me because I'm still the 6'6", 300-pound black man. So, but it's a different thing when I'm recognized. And as such, I take advantage of it to spread the light, and you connect, you meet people. The access is awesome. The fact that they let you on the plane is kind of cool.
It's
like,
cool.
You get to go to the front of a lot of lines.
Yeah. No,
and that's really, really cool.
Absolutely. It's super awesome. Now, let's talk about the flip side to it. So when you and I hang out, especially in a place like Vegas, we have to keep moving.
Got to keep moving.
You got to keep moving.
You
understand the concept, right? We stop.
Yeah.
We get mobbed.
And the thing is that, me and my friends, we call it a Cadillac problem. It's not like, it's not the same as saying, hey, the kid Chase had a tumor. It's not the same as saying that. It's not the same as saying, hey, man, I got to figure out how I'm going to pay this light bill.
Yeah, it's like an incredible problem.
It's an incredible problem. It's a luxury problem. It's a Cadillac problem.
Yeah, it's a killer problem.
It's like, I'm not going to cry about it, but there are some downsides to it. And really the one that no one knows until it happens to you or for you is the value of anonymity.
Yeah, you don't even think it. You take it for granted.
Because unless you're born famous or royal or wealthy or something like that, you have anonymity since you're a child.
Yeah.
And you can walk around freely with no one knowing you.
Right.
And in my opinion, unfortunately, society has made it so that is something that people try to get away from. It's like there's something wrong with normalcy.
Yeah.
And when in real life, fame is the thing. Bless you. Fame is the thing that's bizarre.
Right.
It's the oddest thing in the world because we're the same people as everybody else.
Right.
It's just that the choices that we've made, the opportunities that have come our way, the way that we've positioned ourselves has put us in a different point of society.
Yeah. And you're very, very gracious about it and very cool. Anybody that comes up to and they want to talk to you about something, you're like, hey, yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's fire it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, the way that I see it is this is the way that I get to live the lifestyle that I get to lead.
Absolutely.
Is because people enjoy watching me. And if I'm successful at what I do, that means I made you feel something. I made you feel something through the television, through the movie screen, through your phone. I made you feel something that you remembered that made you want to say, hey, man, I seen you, blah, blah, blah. And it's a trippy thing. And for that, I think about what it was like for me growing up. I grew up, man, if I would have seen anybody that was in the movies or a professional athlete, are you crazy? I would have lost my noodles.
Yeah, right.
Daven Michaels, what do you think, man?
Right.
And I'm a big dude, so it can be weird because I'm touchy.
Yeah.
So I try to give as much leeway as I can,
Totally.
But people get excited, and it is what it is. And so I'm not the kind of dude who's going to walk around with bodyguards. So I just kind of, I kind of play it cool in hopes of other people being cool.
And it looks like they're being pretty cool.
Everybody that I've been here so far, I really just want to say thank you guys because you guys have really welcomed me just since I've gotten off the plane and gotten here, and that's cool. You guys are taking your time to learn a bunch of great stuff. I really do appreciate being here because I hope that my story adds value to the experience this weekend.
Absolutely. Cool. Hey, let's talk for a minute, just change gears for a minute. Let's talk about social media.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was in London, what, about a month ago?
Oh,
Yeah. And I posted on, usually I'll post on like, not WhatsApp, on Snapchat or Facebook. But when I post, there's so many stupid ones now. But now when I post on Instagram, it's linked to my Twitter. And so I posted, hey, I'm at Heathrow Airport. You saw the tweet.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, bro, I'm here too. You want to hang out? This, that. And that's because that was on Twitter. So I know a lot of people in the room here. Some are on Twitter. Probably a lot are not. Lots of celebs do Twitter.
Well, I tell people this.
What's your social media strategy and formula?
Okay, for me, I have to say, I'm slow on the uptake, and I don't suggest that for anybody. But
I actually am too, which I
is that
shouldn't
right?
admit, but I am.
Yeah, I admit it because I recognize it as one of my weaknesses. I really think one of the keys to success is just being honest with yourself about what you're good at and what you need to work on.
Yeah.
So for me, I would have been really good at being an actor in the 90s or before when like people wanted an autograph or something like that.
Okay.
And now with the telephone doubling as a film and still camera, it changes things. Well, for me, I remember being in college when social media started. And nobody talks about it, but there's a site that really started to kick off social media that was called Black Planet.
I don't even know that one.
And there's a site called Black Planet, and it was, I don't know if it was made for like black college students. I think it really started in the historically black colleges and universities. And it was a way to, I was in college, I was like, this is a way to meet girls. This is the best thing in the world. Wow, how does this thing even work? Like I was still handwriting letters to my mom at school. And there was a way to connect with other college students on the other side of the country who I'd never see because you'd have to fly to go see them. But I thought it was really cool. But I really, really value privacy. So what I had to learn was how much people enjoy being a part of your experience.
Right.
And the more that people admire you, the more they want to be a part of your life in that sense.
Yeah.
And so for me, I do Twitter, I do Instagram, and I do Facebook. I haven't got on the Snapchat yet because I haven't really understood. I still can't process why I would want to put out something that disappears.
Disappears in seconds,
You know, that's like, unless it's like, invisible ink, like it's something clandestine, like I have to, I'm trying to sneak you out of the country or something. The code is 35 or something, you know what I mean? I don't know why I would need to do that, but the people do it and the kids do it and they're about to IPO for $4 billion. So obviously there's something to it.
Yeah.
But for me, I tell people all the time, you can hit me on my Twitter or on my Instagram, and this is the equivalent of having my phone number.
Right.
And this is something that I think is super valuable for people to understand. Celebs, activists, authors, politicians, as we see now with President Trump, this is access to them directly.
Yeah.
And
Like,
even if they don't respond to you,
but
they see it.
Yeah, and if you get out there, you hit it enough, they're gonna see it.
They're gonna see it.
They're gonna see it.
Yeah. And so for me, I use Facebook primarily to promote. Because Facebook lasts, bless you. It lasts. It sits on there. People can go to your Facebook page, and it's almost like a substitute for a website, depending on what your product is.
Yeah.
Like for me, I do a sports podcast, right?
Yeah, with your brother.
With my brother.
Yeah.
With my brother, we also met.
Yeah.
So we put that up there. So when you want to, if you just want to see what's going on with me, you can come and I have some photos. But primarily, this is a page that I use to inform people. Hey, I'm tonight at 8 o'clock, I'm on Channel 5. Here's the new episode of the podcast is out, blah, blah, blah. Or, hey, here's a picture of me in Mexico. Here's my toes in the sand, that kind of thing. Yeah. Twitter is where I do more personal kind of interaction. So for me, on Twitter, if I have something to say, if I feel the need to speak about an issue, whether it's like tomorrow I'll tweet about the Super Bowl. Great catch. Like, oh, you got to have that. How did you drop the pass? Or, man, I can't believe this story of the dog who saw his owner after 5 years and ran straight into his arms and stuff like that. Instagram, to me, is kind of like the ultimate, which is an extension of Facebook, but it's like an ultimate combination of the two. because Instagram gives you the opportunity to, even though it says Instagram, and a lot of people seem to think it's instant. A lot of people use it like it's instant.
Right.
I don't. I just don't think that that's safe. I don't need to tell people, hey, I'm in the Nico ballroom right now, because then they know I'm not at home.
Yeah.
So I've never understood that. A little paranoia on my part, but but I usually don't post, where I am right now,
Right.
unless it's like a sporting event or something like that. But you also have the opportunity to place a photo and a caption that is not limited. You could write a book on Instagram. You could put up a picture and write an endless amount of words to describe that photo or what it is that this means to you. Mm-hmm. Twitter is moving so fast because it's microblogging.
Yeah.
And you only have 140 characters.
Right.
And if somebody doesn't look at it
In
within
that
their
second.
feed, within that like 30 seconds, something else is going to replace it.
Totally.
So that's how I use mine, to build and network with people. And oftentimes, if there's somebody that I'm trying to get a hold of that I don't have a direct access to, I will go to social media and just reach out to them directly.
Totally. And there's definitely some lessons learned there, because if you recall, yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, I showed you all of that data mining we did on social media to find all the joint venture partners, very similar. And then also, talking about social media. So with Social Sonic, that's the whole premise behind Social Sonic, that you use it to get attention, right? I mean, you could technically, if there was a celeb or anybody on the planet that you wanted to reach out to, you could basically program Social Sonic to make that happen, couldn't you? Because it's all, I don't know, for those of you that don't have the software, it's basically the first thing it does is it likes their tweets. They see it. Okay. Then the next thing it does, it follows them. So at that point, you either follow them back or you look at the profile and follow them back, right? And then finally, it begins direct messages, which go directly to that person. So you could totally, you could reach kind of almost anybody that you want to reach, which is pretty cool.
Much anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, when you add the president's tactic of actually using Twitter to convey his various thoughts, the idea that literally you can reach anybody. You can reach the president of the United States. You can reach anybody.
Totally. And then I don't know if you care or not, but my social media strategy on a personal level, for me, it's marketing as well, and I have a pretty similar strategy. What I do is my people are posting in Facebook all day long, my employees for me. But on top of that, I'm throwing some stuff in there too to give it my flavor. I answer certain messages as well. And then for me, I post on Instagram, which connects with my Twitter and Facebook.
I'll say this.
And Facebook.
I think that the simultaneous posting, whoever invented that software, is genius.
That was good.
Because you have companies that link up that are not affiliated. Mm-hmm. Your Instagram, my Instagram is linked with my Twitter, which is linked with my Facebook. Facebook and Instagram are the same company, but at the same time, Twitter is a rival of sorts. Right. But they can cooperate, if you will. And you can really get your message out by plastering it consistently,
totally. Yeah, and then a little hack, I'll tell you what I do with Snapchat. So I finally started doing, again, I'm actually a kind of a slower adopter, but my kids are only on Snapchat. They don't even get on Facebook anymore. So I finally jumped on, and I'll tell you what I do the snaps, but also whenever who's on Snapchat? Okay, more than I thought. Yeah, it's a lot more than last year probably. So I'll do snaps, but then before I send it, I download it to my phone, and then that goes to the whole Facebook, Instagram.
So it lives.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Well, but you hit a big thing on the head. Obviously, you have a diverse group here, which is beautiful. And I don't know what everybody's selling or interested in selling, but one thing that's key is recognizing who uses what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Because my mom is on Facebook. Yeah. My mom's a 75-year-old woman, as of April. Yeah. And so innately, because of that, my nephew, who is 19, is not on Facebook.
Yep, exactly.
In the same way that he doesn't listen to the same music that she listens to.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
He's on the Snap.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize that regardless of what you may personally, which one you may prefer, you have to recognize who's using what as per what you're trying to sell.
Yeah, totally. Excuse me, and that's kind of where I'm why I'm in the Facebook world, but now we're also looking, we have certain products and services, and we're trying to attract millennials, and so the Snapchat, interesting.
And internationally, it's different too. Yeah. Now, for me, I travel a lot, and thank God the stuff that I've been in has performed well all over the world. Yeah. And I've noticed that internationally, people use what I just said, the whole last 10 minutes, was more about America, North America. Mm-hmm. internationally, like in Europe, young people still use Facebook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Internationally, different people use different demos, different different levels of engagement on each social media platform.
Totally, totally. So let's back up. Let's go back in time, and let's talk about the 7 kids and mom and dad. Like, what's the story there? Tell us about your childhood. Was it Louisiana?
No. My father's from Mississippi.
Okay.
My father is from a tiny town called Meridian, Mississippi.
Okay.
And he actually migrated because my father's almost 80 years old, and he migrated because of an incident that could have left him without a neck.
Really?
And so he ended up leaving because of a racial incident that led him to California, which is where he met my mother, who was from East St. Louis, Illinois. And then they ended up liking each other and made a bunch of kids. Thank God, that's how I got out of here. So
A lot of kids.
I made it. So they got together and figured that thing out between them. But the reason that that's interesting is because my parents were entrepreneurs, and so that changed my perspective on life. Neither one of my parents were really advocates of a job. Mm-hmm. They it was to their experience growing up when they grew up, as far as culturally and whatnot, that a job was literally there was a real ceiling there. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of America was that being an entrepreneur meant that you could bust that ceiling down and do whatever it is that you wanted to do to the extreme that you were willing to work for it. So my parents were dry cleaners, and they used to joke about us being the Jeffersons, the real life Jeffersons.
All right.
My father, my father had at one point he had probably the biggest dry cleaners on the West Coast, maybe even in the country. He had 30 dry cleaners, and one of the things that my father did, he has an incredible amount of common sense. He's not somebody that's going to quote Shakespeare or any philosophers or anything like that. But if something breaks, if the thing went off right now, everything went off, he'll have it back up. He's that guy.
He'd MacGyver it.
He can MacGyver it like you cannot believe.
Yeah.
And so, growing up with somebody like that who is very ingenuitive, he's just like he's a practical genius. Mm-hmm. But he also was an innovator. So, I mean, my father took a supermarket that had been abandoned and turned it into a dry cleaning plant. So imagine like a Walmart, but it's
huge, dry cleaning.
Huge, and it's just turning over clothes.
Just like
20 hours a day.
So were all the dry cleaners feeding into
That's
it?
exactly what it was. They were all pickup stores,
Got it.
Then the other pickup stores all over Southern California would come, and not just them. And then he would, he used to wash uniforms and clothes for Universal Studios, and all sorts of stuff. So I learned a lot in that scenario, and I learned a lot because he did that and he did it well. But I also learned, and so did my siblings, that there's a giant difference between making money and keeping money. Mm-hmm. Because my father was fantastic at making money.
Not so good at keeping
Not so great at keeping money.
The entrepreneur's curse. Well, I guess anybody's curse, right? So many people. It's not how much money you make, it's how you manage that money. So what happened there?
Well, he and my mother built this great basically franchise, and he was so in love with it that he was never interested in moving on from it. Mm-hmm. And people wanted to buy it from him. People wanted he was offered, vast sums of money to sell it, that he just couldn't see why he would want to do that. This was his vision. This was his baby, and and then time passed, because a strange thing happens in life is that, God laughs at our plans.
Right.
Because
plans are a joke, right?
It's a complete joke.
Yeah.
A complete joke. Right. Because my father had all of these plans, and if you think about it, in the 70s and 80s, everybody in here would have a very high percentage, professionals had a high percentage of their clothing that needed to be dry cleaned. Mm-hmm. If you look at the shift between the 80s, the 90s, and now, everything that you're wearing can go in your washing machine. Mm-hmm. They changed washing machines to be able to do the stuff at home, thus rendering a lot of people necessary to make a lot of adjustments. Yeah. My parents were one of them. And that's the long way of saying this is how I learned for the need to adjust, the need to be flexible. To understand that in my business, whatever business that was going to be, as of now, that's the entertainment business, I have to be adjustable. Mm-hmm. So I need to research and figure out, why do kids like Snapchat? You know what I mean? What is that I don't get? Being a know-it-all will hurt you in every way, and then the unseen happens. My family lost probably 2/3 of our income in the LA riots of '92.
Wow.
Nobody could see that coming.
Wow.
It's totally and completely, you can't see that coming. That's random.
And that was even another racial incident, really.
Without question.
Wow.
So
That's heavy. That's heavy.
And it is heavy, but it was also a learning experience.
Okay.
You know, I mean, if my father was here now, if you could pry him away from the poker table, he would tell you the story and laugh about it, because to him, his optimism still says, "Wow, look at that." You couldn't have, you wouldn't, if you'd have seen that in the movie, you'd say, "Man, that's not real. It's too far-fetched."
Yeah.
And as everybody in the room can attest, you know, truth really is stranger than fiction oftentimes. So we have to be prepared to be malleable, you know, to change.
To be flexible, yeah. And I believe that, honestly, every business you have to have an exit plan. Because every business goes up and it doesn't keep going up, right? It comes down. And you want to sell when you're here, you know, so.
Do you know, there's a number that it stuck to me when I was in school, and it's that eventually 85% of all businesses fail.
Will cease at some point.
85%. That is an astounding number.
It is.
And that doesn't mean that it wasn't around for 100 years.
Yeah.
It just means that eventually it stopped.
Yeah.
You know? And we're witnessing that now with what technology is doing, and like the beautiful conference you put together is helping people adapt to what technology is doing and replacing a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
And you got to be ready to adjust, man, or you're going to get left behind. There is no standing still at this point in history. Technology moves too fast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, so big family. You guys all close?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
And where'd you go to school?
So I ended up going to school up Northern California at San Jose State University.
Okay.
I was a baseball player, and I wanted to go play at the University of Miami, strangely enough. And that same year that I was going down there to do I was going to go down there and do my campus visit, they got popped for blue chip and athletes. And they took away all of their scholarships and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, I was down in the dumps because in my mind, I was ready. I wanted to go there. That's what you were going to do. A lot of Major League Baseball players come out of the University of Miami. And there was just, that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, in hindsight, it's better that I didn't because I would have been out of control in Miami at 17 years old. There's no way. I wasn't ready.
Over.
I thought I was ready. I was not ready. And I ended up going to school at San Jose State University. And I went to play baseball. And it was a very interesting thing that happened. I took some time off just to kind of collect myself. And that couple months turned into more months, which turned into a year. And I stumbled into the theater, and I stumbled into the theater with a professor who had been, he was one of the first professors on general education class that I had, and he said, "Hey, man, I think you got something." And I went back to him a couple years later, and I had stayed in contact with him. I had taken more classes with him with African American studies and just random theater classes, and it kind of blew my mind because I always thought to get into the movies, somebody saw you in the mall, was like, "Hey, man, you got it. I like your look."
You get discovered,
Come
right?
on. Yeah, you get discovered.
Yeah. It's usually not the case.
Ever, and I know it sounds ignorant, but I never, ever in life thought that people go to school to learn this craft, and then they work at it, and they get better, and then they work hard to try to get in anything.
Yeah.
It's a very low percentage profession.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. The lowest of the low. You
The,
have a better chance of
lowest
hitting
of
the
low.
lottery.
You really do.
You really do.
You really do.
Yeah.
And so I went back to this professor and I said, "Hey, man, is there any way to get paid doing this acting thing?" And I was like, top ramen broke. I was like, really, I was there. I was really down.
Yeah.
And college style. And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "There is." He's like, "As a matter of fact, I have an audition for an independent movie that I'll hook you up with, but you got to come act for me in the theater next semester."
Okay.
I said, "Okay, deal, no problem." Yeah. And I went and I booked the job. I got my first audition. I got a job, and it just worked out because, strange enough, this was a rapper film with these Bay Area rappers that I actually was really familiar with.
Who were they?
So it was E40 and the Clique. So,
I know E40.
Yeah.
So
Earl,
I don't know
those guys.
I don't know if you know this, but my partner Layla, when I was in the music business, discovered Tupac. So
okay, now I don't know if you know this. Layla.
You know Layla.
Layla Steinberg, right?
Of course.
Layla was working with my manager, who is, in essence, the guy who discovered me, if you will.
And who's that?
Who was a giant. His name was Larry Bresner.
Okay.
And he was Billy Crystal, Robin Williams' manager, Woody Allen, Harry Belafonte, you name it. Giant comedians on their roster, and me.
Okay.
It was hilarious for a long time.
Yeah.
And he just passed away from leukemia, and that's how I met Layla.
Okay. So
Layla's crazy.
you probably know, like, do you know Mac Mall? And do you know?
Man, I know them guys.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know them well, but I know them.
All the Vallejo crew.
Yeah, the Valley Joe, as they call it.
Small
Yeah.
world. Wow.
So I did this movie with them where I played E40, and all I did was an imitation. I wasn't any good, but I had a good imitation because my impersonation was spot on because I really was a fan of his.
Yeah.
Then that ended up. Then I went back to the school after that, and I did a bunch of plays. And college worked for me exactly how it should for everybody. Mm-hmm. I found something that I was passionate about. They cultivated that talent, that natural talent, and taught me craft, polished it. Mm-hmm. And one of the professors hooked me up with her best friend from college, who was an agent.
Wow.
And then I moved back home to Los Angeles, and then all summer I was auditioning for this movie, another rapper movie. I was like, man, I'm gonna be rapper guy. And come to find, it turns out to be 8 Mile. Mm-hmm. And it changed my life completely.
With Eminem.
Yeah, totally changed my life.
So tell me about that. So you read for it, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
did you
Several
know,
times.
Did you know it was going to be the Eminem movie?
We knew it was going to be the Eminem movie. It started, I still have the script at my house. It's called The Untitled Detroit Project.
Okay.
And it's crazy because the movie we made wasn't necessarily the script that we shot. It changed a bunch of times.
I think, wouldn't you agree
It's pretty common.
Yeah, scripts are a template.
It's a template.
Yeah.
It's a skeleton, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I had auditioned in 2001 in May, and they asked me to bring my own reader. So I brought one of my friends from school. We did it. They were like, all right, thanks. Forgot all about it. Then there was going to be an actor's strike over the summer.
Okay.
And they rushed all these movies into production. This is summer 2001. And then they resolved the issue, and the strike never happened.
Okay.
I didn't have a job. I'm sleeping on my mom's floor. And then later on, I get a phone call, and they say, hey, you have another audition for this Untitled Detroit project. It looks like they're going to go soon. Okay. I said, okay, great. I go back in. I do the audition again. They said they really liked me, but the director is actually in Detroit. He's flying back. You got one final audition, and that's when they're going to find out whether or not you get the job. I said, sounds good to me. I'm a pressure guy. I like pressure. Okay. Well, what happens? I get a phone call. I wake up early in the morning. 9/11 happened. And I'll never forget it because I was supposed to have my. I was laying on my floor, on my mom's floor, and I remember waking up and being like, "Wow, what is going on?" Yeah. And then after that everybody that was so chaotic. There was so it was so far out of anybody's thought process of what was going to happen. Right. Kind of like in the vein of the riots, like it wasn't something that people expected. Yeah. Obviously, there's more tragedy involved in 9/11. Yeah. And also, that was the day I was supposed to have my final audition. And I remember because I was really looking forward to the audition. Obviously, my focus and everybody's focus wasn't on that. Sure. And I called my agent. I was like, hey, I'm assuming this is off. They were like, yeah, are you crazy? Right. Nobody can fly. Right. It's like, that. If you remember, they shut the planes down. Did. The skies were done. You couldn't fly. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going back in. A month later, they flew me to Detroit. First time that I've ever flown first class. First time that
awesome, huh?
It was like, what is this? This is what these people do up here. They can actually stretch their legs out. Look at that. Yeah. It was great. And I went, and it was another situation where I had to do the audition in front of the director, finally meet the director. And he walked in. He looked like a painter. It was a classic Don't Judge a Book by its cover. Yep. The guy's name is Curtis Hanson. He's done movies you guys love. He did The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. He did River Wild. He did L.A. Confidential, was the real giant. He did 8 Mile. He did Wonder Boys, huge movies. And he did not look what I thought a film director would look like, especially for my first, my big job.
Right.
And I did the audition. He said, thanks. And that was it. And he walked out. And I was like, I guess they're going to send me back home. And I went back to my hotel room, and they were like, they want you to stay. You got the job, blah, blah, blah. And everything since then has been in warp speed.
Really?
And that was my birthday, 2001. That was the day I turned 23 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you. It's crazy. And he just passed away. Actually, that's why. That's why I ended up coming in today instead of last night.
Oh yeah, you told me.
They had a tribute for him. He was really big on watching old films to understand. I learned so much. One of the things that I really try to do is I try to learn from everybody.
Yep.
I really try to buck away from being the know-it-all.
Yeah, you do. You take a real interest.
I don't want to do that, and you still have to fight. It's an ego thing, you know.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah, and then that changed my life. And then hanging out with Eminem was like,
Yeah, how was that?
you know what's funny? So I remember the first time that I met him, and it's a trip because Marshall has really, really interesting eyes. He's got crazy, crazy eyes, and he's really quiet, really, really quiet. And it was my first brush with like stardom, really. And once you got to know him, because he's an introvert. Once you get to know him, he can't stop talking. Great dad, cool guy. And but it was interesting because it was like how we're talking about walking around and not being able to stop. We're in Detroit. This is his hometown. It was like what I imagined it was like to hang out with Michael Jackson. Totally. It was like people go berserk. I mean, like lose their manners, lose their minds, attack him out of love. Like you know what I mean? Like it was a very interesting thing to see. It's very interesting to see, and it was interesting to see how a guy like Marshall handles it versus a guy like Dwayne, Dwayne Johnson handles it.
Well, and he's an introvert and stuff too. For him, it must be tough.
Totally tough. And and because of that movie, obviously the movie did well. I ended up making another movie with them called Get Rich or Die Trying with 50 Cent, and they were like night and day. Yeah. Because it was almost like M had passed the torch to 50. M wasn't really interested in being famous. He was interested in being a great musician. Yeah. 50's like your best friend who won the lottery. Yeah. it's like a
he's
totally
loving it. Just embraces
man,
the whole thing.
He's so happy to be on. It's just like, and you know, both of them had a really tough background. Both of their situations were very difficult, you know. And it's just so interesting. It was another lesson for me on how you process stuff. I mean, 50 got shot 9 times. Yeah. A lot of people turned completely the wrong way, and it actually ended up turning his life around for the positive, believe it or not. Yeah. And you know, Marshall had a lot of problems with his childhood with his parents and whatnot, and to see the different ways, so much of what we are is uncontrollable and what happens, but totally controllable is the lens with which we view the stuff. Right. And that's hard.
Yeah, we all experience the same things, but it's sort of up to us how we perceive and process those things, right? I meet brothers, like I'm an only child, but I meet brothers and sisters all the time. They're in the exact same situation. They both have completely different experiences, like in their childhoods.
Me and my brother Terry, that you know, we joke about it all the time. We say, wow, sometimes we look at our siblings as like, did you grow up in the same house?
Right, right, totally.
Where'd you come up with that? Yeah. How did that math add up? Yeah, totally. It's crazy. Yeah. But when you have love and respect for everybody's opinion, for even if you don't agree, if you can just get to a common ground, if you can find the things, I've found that in every negotiation, every deal, even in every just transaction, a personal transaction, if you can find the common ground where you do agree, there's a lot better chance of you guys actually getting something productive accomplished.
Yeah. So if you were to you know, give yourself, I don't know, what, if we were talking about the type of actor you are, would you consider yourself a character actor?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And at this point, it's funny because when I was younger, that's something that I would have been like, character actor, like it was like I hadn't made it.
But I'm sure I know where you're going to go here, and that is that like character actors have some of the longest, most successful careers.
Thank God. Yeah, and also. Strangely enough, leading men and women oftentimes are the victim in the movie. They aren't the people who make stuff happen. Things happen to them, around them, and so on and so forth, and then they react. Yeah. Character actors are actually the people usually are making something happen, which is why when you watch, you're so invested in them because they're the bad guy. Or they're the good guy that helps the hero save the day, or, you know, whatever that is. And I've had different points in my career where At times, I've done more stuff that's the lead, and most of the stuff that I've done is character. And all of it's been a great experience. I mean, I've gotten to see the world on the studio's dime, and I just can't. There's nothing that can replace that. It's just priceless.
Yeah, that's how I feel about speaking. I can't believe I get paid to travel the globe and do it. It's so cool.
Mind blowing. It's like you want to keep the secret as long as you can before they figure it out.
That's right. That's awesome. So, would you consider what you do entrepreneurial? I mean,
absolutely.
You treat it like a business?
Especially now.
Yeah.
That's
Tell
the
me.
thing. So a big thing has changed from when I first got into business in 2001 to now. And when I was in college, all they taught about in film and theater school was, hey, everything is going to this thing called HD. And eventually HD is going to be very affordable. Eventually you're going to have a phone in your pocket that has access to everything in the world, and you're going to be able to take pictures. It was like, man, these guys are far out. You guys are whatever.
Right.
This is what I was thinking, and me and a lot of people in my class. Well, lo and behold, they weren't smoking angel dust. They actually knew what was going to happen, and here we are now. So for me, I just left DC because I am selling a show now that is a travel show. I had a travel show on the Esquire network before that was derived around crowdsourcing a spontaneous 48 hours in any given city, because that's how I like to travel. And an interesting thing that has happened, the main thing that has happened is all of the different channels, YouTube, social media, everything else that has presented itself has taken me as the commodity of what I have and do, and I can directly get it to you. I actually don't need the middleman of the studio if I know how to do it. The part I know how to do is to entertain. This is what I do know how to do. So if I'm willing to learn the other parts, which are the technical parts of it, or recruit other buddies of mine who know that, then we can go direct. At which point, I don't need the studio to pay me $10 million. I just need to get $1 from 10 million people, which is a lot easier because the internet connects you to a billion people.
Right. Totally different world.
Totally different world. So for me, I definitely feel like an entrepreneur, and I treat this business where I am now as such.
Yeah. So you've had the opportunity to work with some pretty big stars.
Oh, yeah.
And what do the big stars have in common?
You know what? These guys are relentless. This is the thing.
Tenacious.
They are just tenacious about whatever craft it is that it is. I watched Eminem one time because the director, Curtis Hanson, it was a real taskmaster. He was really serious. He had to shoot a lot. And at the same time, we were there. I think the longest day we did was a 21-hour day. I mean, literally, you were there all day, all night, and then into the morning. And this is in the winter in Detroit. It was hard work. Brutal. And making movies, nobody knows it. Making movies is hard work. It's not glamorous. The glamorous part is, the glamorous part is the part you see on Entertainment Tonight when you're walking the carpet. Right. But the actual making of the movie is rough. It's hard work. Yeah. And I watched him do a 20-hour day, and then he invited me to his concert that night. And then I remember going home and being like, man, this dude's got a lot of energy. I came back to set, and music was pumping. The Lose Yourself, this title track of the movie, is pumping out of his music trailer. He didn't even go home. He came back from the concert and took a shower at work and then went to work that next morning. We shot some more scenes. Yeah. Same with Dwayne, man. I mean, Dwayne Johnson is literally the hardest working man in show business. Yeah. And that dude gets it done. Arguably, not even arguably, the biggest star on the planet right now. Literally and figuratively. This guy he's as big as they get. He's all over the place. That's right. Literally and figuratively. And so how's it working with Dwayne? Does anybody call him The Rock anymore? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes we call him Rock. Sometimes we call him DJ, Dwayne. He's cool. Thing is you can't pay me to say anything bad about this guy. He is as kind and humble and warm and generous as you can be. And in the business that I'm in, a lot of people get power to hoard it over other people. There's a lot of jaded people, a lot of broken people, a lot of bitter people, and unfortunately, that line of genius and insanity is very thin. And there's a lot of people who are just insane that like to act like they're geniuses, but there's a lot of people. This is what the entertainment business attracts, you know, and it works well for art. Strangely enough, he's not that. He comes from an athletic background. He's a humble dude, You will not outwork him. He's there. He's prepared. You're not waiting for him to come out of the trailer. He knows his material. It's not. There's no part of him that's slacking in the effort sense. And because of that, the thing that I would say about all of these guys is that they help you recognize that there are no shortcuts. There are hacks here and there, but you still can't beat hard work. You just can't. The guy that's willing to keep failing until he fails up is unstoppable.
That's right. The only way to fail is to quit.
That's it. Other than that, you still got a chance.
Absolutely.
You got to get off the mat.
Yeah.
And this is what I've seen with all of these, giant stars. Even, a guy that I actually really liked that had a really bad reputation is David Caruso from CSI Miami. And a lot of people, everybody makes jokes about him taking off his glasses.
Right.
Meanwhile, David's somewhere in the Brinks truck laughing his ass off.
Yeah.
Because
he
he did all right with his glasses move.
Yeah.
But I tell you, it's an interesting thing because he's also somebody. If his call time was 6:30, David was there at 5:45. He's there. He's ready. It's just the hard work, man. It's wild. You can't get around it. In this country, they call it Hall.
Yeah.
That hard ass work, boy.
That's right. That's right.
It's serious business.
Yeah. Who was your favorite person that you worked with?
You know what? Acting wise, it's Benicio del Toro.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. It was like, it's a trip too because it's not even like he's that much older than me, but it was like taking a class working with him. Yeah, man. You better bring it or you're gonna get dusted. He will eat you alive in the scene if you are not alive in the scene. If you're not focused, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's in the scene. That guy he's as honest as they get. Honest is a term that you use in the industry to when you see me, if you can tell I'm acting, that's not me being honest. The honesty comes from people feeling like, no, man, I believed him. He really is football. That guy's a lineman that's working for the Chevy dealer. You know what I mean? That's the honesty. And Benicio is just like, man, he's very hard to beat. It was a real challenge, and I loved that.
That's cool.
I loved it. I really loved it.
So you've been in blockbuster movies, television shows. What have you learned? What's the most important thing you learned doing them?
You know what? For me, it's that all of the success and stuff is really irrelevant if you don't understand value. And the value of experience beats driving a fancy car or sitting in first class, which I like to do.
Yep.
But and there's nothing wrong with having nice stuff, but experience is something that I am very serious about. It's you can't negate anybody's passion, because if you're passionate about something and when you get that experience of passion, it takes you to another level. To me, I believe spiritually, I believe it takes you to another level physically. The passion that drives you through experience can really help you in your entire life across the board. I really believe that.
Yeah. So what would you like to see happen over the next decade for you in your career?
You know what? For me, I'm in the process of building that. And as much as I can control it, what I'm going to do, what I would like to see happen is just more opportunity to tell my own stories, and I'm doing everything I can for that.
And is that writing, directing?
All of it, all of the above.
Cool.
And not just for me, to give other people opportunity to do that. The more that you attain, the more you recognize how important it is to help other people attain.
Yeah.
It's like the spiritual laws of attraction and generosity and reaping and sowing are all very real. Everybody can call them, different terms if they want to, karma and so on and other things. But
you get what you give.
These are like spiritual laws, that are taking place, and the intrinsic rewards that you get when you give surpass anything that you can receive. Yeah. And so for me, I would love to be in a spot where I can help other people, where I'm at a point where I can push the button and say, yeah, let's go do that movie. Yeah. I love that idea. Let's go shoot it. Or, you know what? I don't know anybody, but there's this cool named Daven. He's got this awesome conference, and he can help you out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is, for me, day to day, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm building. This is what I hustle for.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And hopefully in 10 years, Ballers will be on season 46.
That would be cool.
And
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Charles can be in a walker.
There you go.
And we can
There you go. Now, Ballers is on HBO. You're in cycle 3 right now?
Yeah.
And
season
are the networks like HBO, yeah, same deal, that if you get into around year 6, you'll go into syndication? Will that happen?
Well, yes and no, because those shows, they don't syndicate them. This is another adjustment of the industry. I'll give you an example. So Netflix was able to create a business based on the scraps of the entertainment business.
Right. Initially, they were just taking all the crap.
That's all it was. Right. And they were like, hey, you know what? We'll give you X amount of millions of dollars for all 20 seasons of Law & Order.
Right.
For this, for that. And the entertainment business, the studios all thought, look at this guy. All right, great. Take that.
Until they had so many
Until
members.
Netflix became bigger than the studios.
Exactly. They became their own studio.
Then they became their own studio.
Yeah.
Netflix's stock price smashes most studios.
It's just genius.
It's, they've split and reversed and split and, the whole nine.
Yeah.
So I think that what you see there is another situation with the adjustment because now
it'll be sold through different channels.
Yeah, but primarily HBO has their own app. So they have HBO Go and HBO Now.
Right.
So they charge $15, and what they need is new content
Right.
to make you say, yeah, I'm willing to pay $15 because this is the only place I can see Ballers. It's the
Netflix
only
model.
place I can see Game of Thrones. It's never going to come on Netflix. It's never going to come on another place.
Yeah. So how will that happen? So let's say, season 46 and it goes off the air. And then at that point, will that content just kind of never see the light of day? Or who knows? Will they?
No.
Okay.
It lives through their app.
Oh, it'll it'll be available.
It's
on the app.
available.
Got it.
It's
Yeah.
it's exclusively
Got it.
available
Got it.
through that.
Got it.
So and HBO is, they're the gold standard.
Right.
So they have a body of work for, 20 years now, from The Sopranos and The Wire to all of their Angels in America and all of their made for HBO movies, as well as Ballers, and they're going to keep rolling them out. Westworld and they keep it going.
By the way, are you watching Westworld?
I watched this season for sure.
Did you like it?
I did it. It was tough for me, I have to say. And I don't know what it is about what happened to me, but
It's good, right? It's freaking
no. I was gonna say I don't know what happened to me, but 2 series this year could just really put me off with the amount of violence that was involved.
Westworld's violent?
Westworld is violent, as is The Walking Dead, which is like a guilty pleasure. But they both got
My
to a
daughter
point
loves
of
that show.
violence that was like, man, like this could be hurting my subconscious.
Okay.
I don't need to see that.
Do you remember Westworld, the original movie from the 70s?
I do not.
Yeah, but some of you do. And after Westworld was Future World. That's right. They're awesome. You got to check them out. And the reason I'm asking, who's watching Westworld? Is it amazing? I'm trying to
It's
convince
solid,
Liz to start watching it. She won't watch it with me. Anyways,
It's some great work.
Yeah,
crazy work in there.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins is phenomenal.
Oh, Anthony Hopkins
Oh,
is in it.
man,
Oh,
Jeffrey
cool.
Wright's great. There's a lot of great actors.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
the writing's incredible. The cinematography is incredible.
Oh, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brother, I want to thank you for being with
man,
us here
thanks for
today.
having me.
Awesome, my man.
Really.
All right, Omar Miller. Stick around a second. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, I did. Did anybody want to? We have a few more minutes for questions. Does anybody want to ask some questions? What's that?
I can.
Okay,
I can give
so-
you a hot. You know what?
Any
Strangely
questions?
enough, she just asked if I could rap. Strangely enough, just literally before I came in here, I was walking around and there's a rap that was really popular in 8 Mile that I did. That literally, I might be at church and somebody would be like, 10 freaky girls. It's all the time. So I rap in private circles.
Nice.
I've had a lot of experience.
And we do have a couple questions. So, do we have a stick? We'll grab a mic runner. Hang on one second. Yeah, actually, I meant to do that 10 minutes ago. I just forgot. Sorry, guys.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
I want to pick it up on
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 the
the
thing.
stream.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Right here. Thanks, Jason.
Second row.
I'm interested in your time management because you're working, and then you probably have long periods where you're not working and maintaining that self-discipline. And I hear you talking about following shows. And I guess I always imagined that people who are very busy don't have time for TV. And it's one of my guilty pleasures. I like TV. And whenever I don't get something done, it's like, oh, it's because I watch TV. I got to quit watching TV. And yet both of you watch TV.
We do.
So
I didn't used to.
Can you talk a little bit about
No, I
like how you
stopped.
justify that time or how
Mine is really easy.
make me feel
It's
better?
your
You know, I don't.
research, right?
Yeah.
right,
Mine is really
research.
easy. I actually, when I decided that I was going to dedicate my life and commit my life to chasing this dream of being an entertainer, this was when I was in college. I literally would spend. I was working at Sam Goody Record Store, which is a failed business.
Yeah, I remember
which
I worked at the warehouse.
Did you? There you go. Music Plus, Warehouse, Sam Goody, all
Yeah.
the same animal. And so every paycheck I would go spend to see every movie they had at the movie theater. And the same is going right now for when I watch as much television as I can, because this is, quote, the golden age of television. So for me, I need to know what I'm up against. As far as writing, as far as performance, I need to know what it is that people like, because that for me is market research. But as far as the time management goes, you know what? I've never been one to adhere to a strict schedule. But I do adhere to the discipline that you're always working. So if I'm working for the studio and I'm shooting a season of Ballers, and then I don't work until we shoot another season of Ballers, God forbid, I can still work. I can create concepts. I can write shows. I can pitch people ideas. I can still work. You know, I can travel and learn. There's still work to be done. It's just done not in the specific structure of that same traditional work, but it's still moving towards the goal.
Yeah. Mike over here.
Yeah, I got a
Okay.
question. Yeah, Dave Mason. I work with celebrity lifestyle brands, and you had mentioned you like being an entrepreneur. What are your other? Do you have other income streams that you do?
I have multiple income streams from entertainment. So one of the best things that happens with intellectual property, whether it's books or anything else,
Royalties.
TV, I get checks from episodes of CSI that I did 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So that's one. But the other things, there's a couple other things that I do. I'm invested in a website that's for high school athletes trying to become college scholarship athletes. And so this is another big change that's happened in the world. When I played high school sports, like, you would hope for your mom and dad to come with a big old camera that looked like, we called it the Spielberg, the big camera, and like to tape you, stealing second base, and then you send it to some college coaches, and then they give you a scholarship, hopefully. Well, now this has become like a $2 or $3 billion industry, helping kids get scholarships.
Yeah.
So what we did is we created a free website. We don't charge the kids for it. And the way that we subsidize it is through clothing. And the clothing brand is called D1 Bound. And that's one of the things that I have another interest in revenue in. I have my podcast that brings in revenue. So there's definitely something to the multiple streams, theory. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think you put all the eggs in one basket.
Mm-hmm.
No. He's gonna get you next.
Me? Oh, hello. You're right. My name's Kishan. I'm a fellow actor. I'm from the UK. We don't get HBO, and I really wanted to watch Ballers. The only time I got to watch Ballers was on the plane here, because I got HBO on the plane. That was cool. Will we get HBO? Like, will it be available for us to watch in the UK?
Dude, this Ballers is worldwide. It's on you guys. I did an interview for you guys. It's called Sky Atlantic. It plays on Sky Atlantic out there.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah. It's just a paid channel. In France, the channel is called OCS. In the UK, it's called Sky Atlantic. Every country. I mean, this is the real testament and power of Dwayne and his brand and HBO, is because whether it's directly HBO or whether it's an HBO kind of like subsidiary, they sell it to a channel that's a pay channel where you are.
This is awkward. All right, cheers for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
I'm glad I had the answer.
So also, it's Kishan, right? Kishan. So, you said to be a successful actor, you certainly have to be tenacious, right?
No doubt.
So 2 days ago, I spoke on a stage here in Vegas to about 250 Amazon sellers. And in the audience was Kishan's mom, right?
Oh, wow.
That was your mom. And so we started talking, and she bought one of my programs, and we started talking, and she said, my son's an actor. He's in the UK. You were in London, right? Yeah, and she said, my son's in London and he wants to be an actor, and I go, oh, I got Omar Miller's coming. He's like, what? Oh, he wants to meet Omar, wants to meet The Rock and this and that. And that. I go, well, I'll tell you what, if you want to send him down, we'll hook him up and come down and say hi and everything, and she right then and there, as I'm talking, she's calling him or texting him. Texting him, and then she's like, okay, he's trying to get a visa, da-da-da-da-da. This was 48 hours ago. And you're
Wow.
here, right? Give him a round.
Hey, I had a kid.
biggest dream, right, is to work with A-listing stars like yourself, man. I want to get to your level. One of my other biggest dreams that I put onto YouTube was I wanted to work with The Rock as well, man. That was like biggest thing. I got happy. Thank you for that. Do I have to repeat everything up? Take two. Would you be able to? Thank you so much. I've got a whole set work. Can you guys come in as well? No, I'm joking.
Directing too.
Yeah.
When I have a vision board as well. Man, I have The Rock on my vision board. I'm gonna put yourself on my vision board as well. I know that you're an 8 Mile as well. That's so cool. And when I turned 20, when I turned 20, it was my birthday, and I got a tweet of The Rock. Can you wish me a happy birthday? Because I tweeted him saying, "Can you wish me a happy birthday?" He replied, and I was like, "Yeah, what's up, man?"
This is the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, I was like the one step closer to my goal. And, dude, will you help me get closer to that goal?
I'm helping you now, though. This is the whole thing. This is the thing.
Yeah,
This is the thing you
yeah.
got to understand. For anybody who's interested in the entertainment business, there is no one route. I could literally put you in my suitcase and take you to work with me. It doesn't mean anything.
Just to
There's nothing. It means something. It means something in that sense. I don't mean it like that. I'm not trying to crap on your cornflakes. I'm saying that proximity isn't necessarily the key to your success. I'm somebody who got out of school and I got my career started on the third audition that I ever had.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. That doesn't happen to people. Some people go 20 years and they're bussing dishes, and then on the 21st year, they get the blockbuster movie that for the next 20 years of their life, they're on billboards and all over the world. In the entertainment business, there's no one road. And the words that I would have for you is to be persistent and to create your own opportunities.
Exactly.
You have to create your own stuff. Don't wait. The clock is ticking.
And now you can do it.
It wasn't even realistic before.
Yeah, 10 years
How
ago,
could
no.
you? I mean, really, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
you couldn't get a hold of a film quality camera.
Yeah.
That's
No way.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
The film alone would
the
break
film
you.
alone would break you. You couldn't even afford.
Right.
You used to have to buy scraps from the studio. You would buy scraps when we actually shot on film. You would buy film scraps, the actual film, and stitch them together to shoot on.
Yeah.
Nobody could afford Kodak. What are you crazy? You can't afford 35 millimeter film.
Right.
And now you can do that. You can make a film that will play all around the world with a camera that costs $800.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, I had some friends that created a movie the other day. Well, they wrapped it up the other day, and it's got some CGI in it and the whole nine. It's not great, but it's a full-featured film, and it cost them $5,000. They cashed in
I'm
every
gonna tell you
favor
something
that
else.
they could. It was crazy.
This one might not be great,
Yeah.
but the next one might be great.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that's
no.
the thing,
Totally.
it's there's a learning
Stepping
curve to it, and then even beyond that, the other thing that's it just blew my mind. I'll tell you this last story real quick. I don't know if you what kind of time you got, but I remember 8 Mile came out. I flew back from Detroit to LA, where I was still technically sleeping on my mama's floor, but now I had some money. So I went and I got my own place. So I get my place, and I went to a popular Hollywood comedies place called the Laugh Factory. So the Laugh Factory on Sunday night is called Chocolate Sundays. It is the place where all of the ethnic comedians come out. And not just the ethnic comedians, but it's primarily the ethnic comedians. And I walked into the Laugh Factory and stumbled into Chris Tucker. And Chris Tucker, of Rush Hour fame and Friday fame and yada, yada, giant comedian. He came up to me. He came up to me and he said, man, you were funny as hell in that movie. Changed my life. Because I never really even thought, wow, Chris Tucker might see me in this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then I say all that to say, with your friends, with you, what you're doing, you don't know who's watching. You have to give it your best and put your best foot forward, because every piece, and when it comes to entertainment, I can tell you, every little piece that people see you in is representative of your talent, your effort, and your ability. And you don't know who might watch it. Dwayne himself might watch it and be like, you know what? I need this kid on the show. Or he might watch it and be like, oh, man, this kid, he was messing around.
Yeah.
He wasn't serious.
Right.
You know, these are the choices that you're making, whether you know it or not. The world has changed, and it's also connected globally.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks for being with us, Padre.
Thank you guys for having me.
Okay.